Hello wrestling fans, the Wrestling Wizard here and welcome to another video. So another Smackdown goes by and another absolute fire performance from Roman Reigns. Literally everything Reigns touches at the moment just turns to gold. He is just on another level and there is no one, in my opinion, at the moment in WWE who can rival Roman Reigns. He's top tier, he's top level, he's just the perfect heel. And who'd have thought this? Because years ago, we were booing that very same man out of the building, of course, as a face. He was just getting forced down our throats. Everything about this character, and I know it sounds like I'm blowing smoke up his ass, and I probably am in some ways, but everything he does is just down to absolute perfection. And now, of course, he has the entrance music to really identify himself as the tribal chief, the head of the table. And again, every Smackdown that goes by, their storytelling is absolutely spot on with Roman Reigns and of course the Usos. And it's almost like emotional, mental bullying really when it comes to the Usos. He's literally got Jay wrapped around his little finger. He'll do anything that he asks, acknowledges him at all times. He's the right-hand man, clever with the merchandise by the way. And manipulates him all the time, and just as you think Jay's kind of seeing the light, he's seeing that he's been taken for a ride and just used, he gets him back on side, and just the way he patronisingly gets his point across, and it's just always about him being acknowledged and how he wins all the time, which obviously he does. He backs up everything he says, but he does it with this just absolute arrogance, and it works perfectly, and obviously that's ticking all the boxes as a monster heel, which is exactly what you want. Now you're probably thinking, what on earth is actually putting this up as the title? Like, how on earth is Dominik Mysterio just going to go and join Roman Reigns? Now, I would not write this off. I honestly would not write this off. Now, with WWE and creative, Smackdown tend to be getting it right. Complete contrast, of course, to what on earth is going on with Raw at the moment, but that's another story and that's another video. But the way things are panning out at the moment with the Usos storyline, you genuinely don't know what's going to go on. Now, first thought, I thought that basically what would happen for a while is Jimmy just wouldn't get in line, and then ultimately they're leading up to a Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso? What am I on about? God, I know I've had a few coffees, but blimey. Jimmy Uso versus Roman Reigns in a singles match. And they can do that a couple of times. And he could even stretch that out over pay-per-views. And then eventually, of course, Jimmy Uso falls in line like Jay did. And then it kind of fuels them up as a tag team a little bit more as the Usos. And then they take the tag team titles. And then, of course, you have... And obviously, that's assuming Roman Reigns just beats down Jimmy, which is likely going to be the case, and retain the belt. And then you've got Roman Reigns with the belt. And then, of course, the Usos with the tag teams. And then they can kind of run roughshod around SmackDown for a little while, and I'm happy with that. Like, you think back to the Evolution days, when of course 2003 Armageddon, they took all the belts. You had Randy Orton with the Intercontinental title, Ric Flair and Batista with the tag titles, and of course the game Triple H with the world title. And it was great because they were just going around as this monster heel faction, running roughshod, of course, round Raw, which was great at the time. And that's how you can really make a heel faction really hateable. And obviously ticking all the boxes as a heel. So I could kind of see that, like that was what I initially saw. But I'm not so sure. I'm really not so sure. I actually think there's room for a potential Dominik Mysterio heel turn at some point. And I think this is inevitable. I'm sure this is going to happen at some point. Whether he's ready for it, I still think he's definitely got a bit of developing to do as a character. I'd personally like to see Dominik Mysterio go off into NXT and get a little bit more experience and kind of become one of the bigger names. Because, you know, you look at Finn Balor, you know, when he lost to The Fiend at SummerSlam on The Fiend's debut, in-ring match debut, a lot of people thought, oh, what's he going to NXT? It's a step down. And arguably that's some of the best work Finn Balor's done in WWE when he went back to NXT. And a lot of people don't want to see him come back to the main roster at the moment because he fits in so well. It's kind of like an Adam Cole. You don't really want to see him on the main roster. Not because you don't want to see him there, but you don't want to see him not get utilised as well as he does in NXT. So that's kind of what I would like to see from Mysterio. But I actually can see Dominik, like, kind of liking the way that, like, kind of seeing what Roman Reigns is up to, because he's such a charismatic, kind of magnetic type character, isn't it? You kind of love to hate him, sort of thing. And then Mysterio just basically, like, Reigns somehow gets in his head, Mysterio's head, Dominik Mysterio, and he attacks Rey. Brutally attacks him and then joins Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio joins Roman Reigns, in some weird, like, twist. That could actually happen. I can actually see it happening. I would not write that off, and I would not write WWE off making those sort of strides with that storyline. That'd be really cool. It'd be interesting to see how they link that with the Usos. Personally, I don't think it will actually come to action. I think what they'll actually do is, obviously, eventually Jimmy will fall in line and Jay and Jimmy will get the belt, and then you might see a Dominik heel turn, and obviously turning on Rey, malicious turn, but then maybe not alongside Roman Reigns. But who knows? Like, Roman Reigns could manipulate Dominik Mysterio. Now, one thing I've got a little bit of an issue with is when they keep bringing up that Dominik's a kid, like he's literally a whippersnapper or a teenager or something. He's 24. And this is, again, a bit of a bugbear I have with WWE in terms of consistency. If you look back, The Rock's first title win, he was 26. Brock Lesnar was 25. Randy Orton was 24, the same age as Rey Mysterio's son, Dominik Mysterio. And of course, it does make you think, if they're talking about, like, how he's such a youngster and, you know, super young in the business, he's got years to improve, etc., etc., it makes you realise how aged the actual roster is. And if you look at the contenders fighting for both belts over both sides, like, they're no spring chickens, and there's certainly, you can't see legitimately, if they're just banging on about Dominik Mysterio being a kid, how they can then throw him into the title picture now. They're not going to, but you think back then, characters had so much build. Like, you know, you think how quickly Randy Orton came up through the ranks, but, like, established himself. It's tough to draw comparisons now, and you can't see any superstar. You can't look at young talent now in the WWE roster, the way they book them, and get excited about it. So it's one flaw I would say they definitely have at the moment. And of course, when they do have talent, what do? They get rid of them. But we won't go into that. And really interesting developments. I think Smackdown at the moment is a much watch. I'm absolutely loving it at the moment. So much better than Raw. Interesting to see how this storyline pans out between Roman Reigns, the Usos, and the Mysterios now. What a beatdown by Roman Reigns. I mean, gosh, talk about showing no mercy on this last Smackdown. And just basically saying, look, you can't get the job done. You've let your family down. You're basically ruining the legacy, the Samoan legacy, the dynasty. And I love that. I love the fact that Roman Reigns just gets in everybody's head. Like, you must win, otherwise you're a failure. And I love that. And the way he comes across so like patronising, it's absolutely brilliant. You just want to punch him, but also you just know they're doing such a good job with his character. Be awesome to hear your opinions. Fire into the comments section. That'd be great to hear what your thoughts are. How would you like to see things booked versus how do you think it's actually going to come about? Thanks again so much for watching the video. It'd be awesome if you could like the video, share the video, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you in the next video, hopefully.